I know what you're thinking. Some men are just absolutely ridiculous, right? You go out with them, things seem cool, and next thing you know, they're gone. They disappear. And you're like, what the hell just happened? They say some people don't realize what they have until it's gone. But that doesn't mean they're supposed to get it back. Or are they? The reality is that some men are gonna leave and come back into your life, or you may have left them and they come back into your life. And the question becomes, what do you do when that happens? So again, I know this is extremely frustrating experience for a lot of women. You know, they have a word for it. It is called ghosting. And a lot of people have been ghosted, men and women. And it can be a hurtful experience. It can be very frustrating, very confusing. And so I want to help clear up some of this confusion, but I also want you to make sure you listen to all the way to the end, because I have a very specific, important message you need to hear about this specific topic. So, number one, he was never serious to begin with. Listen, here is the bottom line reality. You're going to meet men, and let's say you meet 10 guys tomorrow, and there's going to be a batch of them. No matter how great you are, no matter how amazing you are, there's going to be a batch of them who never wanted anything serious. Who, forget just even wanting anything serious. They may not have even been sure that they wanted to engage and push anything further with you, even on a casual level, all right? Now, again, that isn't necessarily about you per se. It's about where that guy's head, where his head is at for various reasons, all right? I will mention one, though I don't want you to lean on this, all right? Sometimes he's already in a relationship and he meets you, he was attracted to you, he decided to flirt, he got your number, but in reality, he knows he can't do anything with this. He wanted to see how far he can get. Now, of course, I'm not saying that's okay and that's a good thing, but this happens, all right? He wanted to see how far he can get. But then he had to stop it because it's like, okay, I can't take this too far and now cause problems in my relationship. And so now he disappears. No explanation, no nothing. He just cuts it off. And so that happens a lot more than some women may realize, all right? Other possible reasons why he may not be serious, again, he may have just come out of a relationship. And right now, he's not in the mindset of wanting to engage emotionally with any woman. And so what happens is, in that instance, if he senses that you want something more serious, or he senses you're here, he's there, as far as how he's seeing things, he might be like, you know what, I don't want any problems, I'm just going to leave this alone. And again, he just disappears. Another reason why he may not be serious to begin with is simply because, now, actually, I don't even know another reason why he may not be serious to begin with. Those two pretty much are typically what it is. He just doesn't want a relationship for various reasons. So yeah, here's another one. Another reason is he may be at a time in his life where he feels like getting in a relationship right now would be detrimental to him. All right. He generally feels like, listen, I need to be on my grind. I need to be focused on my purpose, focused on the things I'm trying to accomplish. And a relationship doesn't fit into that. But what happens with these men is that they get lonely too. They desire companionship. And so they may start something with a woman, but again, because they weren't truly committed to the process of dating, they can end up just pulling out of nowhere. And you're like, what the hell just happened? All right. So, and there could be other possible reasons I'm not even thinking about right now, but the bottom line is this. If he's not serious to begin with, this is something that you should not internalize. And this is why it's important to not internalize when men disappear, all right? Because you never know what's really going on. But I'm going to dive deeper into that a little bit later. The bottom line is he was never that serious, so he already had 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out, and he simply took that 1 foot out, and so he chose not to handle it properly by telling you where he's at and why he's about to disappear on you. Number 2 on the list of top reasons why men disappear on you, and this might throw you off, but just work with me here. You ignored that there wasn't a connection there. All right, now you might be saying, well, dang, Stefan, why are you making this about us? Listen, I'm here to help you, okay? And to help you, I got to give you the reality of these situations. And yes, some of these things on the list are going to focus on him, and there will be some more things on this list that will focus on you. So this one's about you. And let me explain this a little bit better by saying I believe in general, women know connection even better than men. All right, like you guys feel it because you're more emotionally in tune. You have your intuition. You guys can pick up on it much faster. However, what I have noticed is a pattern of a lot of women when you go on a date with a guy and his resume is great. You now decide in your head, I want this. I want this guy. I want this to work. And at that point, you ignore the fact that connection is not here. You may now rely on, well, we have chemistry. We share the same values, which are good things. You need those ingredients, but those things don't matter without connection. He comes from a good family. You start giving yourselves these reasons to hold on and to latch onto this guy and push things forward, but you're ignoring the fact intuition is not there. Now you're asking me, well, what the hell does that have to do with him disappearing? Well, the problem is if there is no connection and he picks up on it, but you're busy ignoring it because you've latched onto what you want, then yes, he may at some point pull away. Because it kind of goes back to, he now realizes, okay, I came into this with a genuine intention. I now see connection is not here. You may be an amazing, great girl, great woman, but he's like, you know what? She's not the one. All right. And that's no knock on you, but we're just not going to be the one for everybody. And so now he recognizes this, but you're still trying to push for something to move forward and happen. And again, he decides to pull out. He decides, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. We're not on the same page. I don't want what she wants. All right. And he walks away. And so it's an unfortunate situation, but again, I want you to set yourself up for better results by being mindful of what you can do differently as well. And so one of those things is, do not ignore a lack of connection. Do not get so caught up in what you think you want that you also become blind to what you actually need. That you become blind to the red flags that do present themselves, because it's not like you don't ever see them. If you sat down with women who have gone through breakups, divorces, all these broken situations and relationships, they will admit to you, in most cases, almost always, that they did see a red flag, but they didn't address it. They ignored it. They rationalized past it. Don't do that to yourself, because it can lead to, if not him disappearing, you finding yourself in a relationship that you don't belong in. So either way, it does not work in your favor. So be mindful of that. There must be a connection. Do not ignore a lack of it. It is a setup for disaster every single time. Number 3. And before I tell you number 3, real quick, if you desire coaching from me, you want your questions personally answered, you want additional guidance and help to really experience those better results in your life when it comes to healing, purpose, relationships, all those things, join my special membership program, How to Manifest the Life and Man God Has for You. Click the link in the description or in the comment section. Thousands of women have been in this group. They all are loving it. Many have graduated from it, gone on to marriages. I'm not lying. They've gone on to marriages and great relationships, but just overall being happier. Again, click the link or go to www.receivingmyblessings.com. So number 3, next on the list is he met someone else. I mean, again, we're keeping it real with each other here. And so the reality is that, yes, sometimes you're dating a guy and things may seem to go well. Things may seem to be moving in the right direction, but he meets someone else, or he what's the word I'm looking for? He rejoins. I don't know why I'm missing the correct word to say, but basically someone from his past comes back. All right. And they reconnect. They reconnect. That's the word. He reconnects with someone from his past. All right. And so, yes, again, unfortunately, rather than just saying, hey, I met someone from my past, he goes on and just walks away. So let me stop right here and say this. And I should have said this from the very beginning. At the end, or the basis of disappearing, is a man who doesn't know or is unwilling to communicate and properly handle disconnecting from you. All right. It is easier for people to walk away than it is to address the issue. So when you ask yourself the question, well, why didn't he just say something? Because I'm sure over and over that comes up with each thing I'm listing on this list, is because he either did not care enough to talk about it, or he does not know how to communicate like that. He felt awkward in trying to have that conversation. And let's be honest, I'm not trying to excuse ghosting, but it's not the easiest thing to call up somebody and say, hey, I just want you to know I lost interest. Or, hey, I just want you to know I met someone else and I prefer to go date them instead of you. Like, these are things that people don't feel comfortable doing. A lot of people don't want to feel like the bad guy, even though you can argue that by ghosting them, they have become the bad guy. It's easier for an individual to do that than to just have a conversation about it. So again, at the foundation of this whole disappearing mess is an unwillingness or inability or a lack of care to communicate and properly handle detaching from you and ending the situation. All right. But going back to number 3, again, he met someone else or he reconnected with someone from his past, and people tend to just move on from there. And there's different reasons. And let me also, because this is hitting my spirit, let me also say this. Man, I feel like I really got to say this. So here's this. I've seen situations where 2 people meet and 2 people have actually a connection. All right. And it's an amazing experience for those individuals. And so you guys are both highly into each other. And then that person, maybe it's not ghosting, but for whatever reason, they end up letting you go and getting back with an ex or getting back with this person or whatever. And you think, well, dang, I guess they love them more than they love me. And that's not always the case. There's a lot of situations where people get scared of the connection. They become overwhelmed, and out of fear, they rather go deal with what is comfortable and familiar than to move forward into the unknown where they have to be so vulnerable. And so a lot of times, more than I think we realize, and not every time, but a lot of times more than we realize, that person's not picking someone else because they're better than you. They're not picking that other person because they love them more. They're picking that other person because they feel safer there. Emotionally safer, in the sense that when you have a connection with someone or when you're deeply into someone, all right, even if it's not connection sometimes, when you're just so into someone, they have the ability to hurt you more than anyone else can. All right. Again, they make you the most vulnerable. Their mistakes hurt more. Their lack of attention hurts more. So it feels like a very dangerous place to be emotionally. Whereas the person who's actually of a lower quality than you, who they don't have the same feelings for, who they don't feel as vulnerable with, it's safer. If that person makes a mistake, it doesn't hurt as much. If that person misses the mark, it's whatever. They feel comfortable in that unhealthy environment. So I just felt the need spiritually to say, don't always think that what you felt in that situation wasn't real. It's just that a lot of people can't handle the real. It's unfortunate, and it's one of the reasons why I do what I do, because I'm hoping to break this cycle to help you and men, all right, heal so that we can embrace what's best for us, whether that be that connection with someone, whether that be our purpose in life, our relationship with God. I want us to be able to walk into our best selves, but we need a lot of healing, all right? But I had to just explain that that's a scenario that does happen and can happen to a lot of people. All right, so now let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is you lowered your standards, all right? So this is a twofold issue here. Part 1 of this issue. You lowered your standards in the sense that you're dealing with low quality men. At the end of the day, you're engaging with Mr. Emotionally unavailable, Mr. He ain't serious about nothing, Mr. He's just trying to have a go with the flow, let's not define this casual relationship, whatever, when you know you want something real, all right? And so what happens is when you lower your standards with the type of guy you entertain and deal with, you are more, there's a greater chance for things like ghosting to occur, because you're dealing with someone who's not serious to begin with. You're dealing with someone who doesn't have that intention, all right, in this relationship to now say, let's handle this in a very mature and healthy manner, because they're just trying to enjoy themselves or pass the time or whatever the case may be. So you've got to be mindful of, all right, are you setting yourself up by dealing with low quality men who already don't have the tools at the moment to be the type of man you need and to handle this properly in a mature manner, all right? The other side of it in lowering your standards is, believe it or not, it's what you allow in the interaction. So what I mean by that is this. Let's say, for example, you're a woman, you're dating this guy, and communication is important to you, which for most people it is, all right? But with this guy, he calls you here, he calls you there. It's very inconsistent, all right? This is below your actual standard. Now, listen, if you're a woman who actually is cool with that, then so be it. But if you know that's below your standard and you're allowing that, now it's not that hard to go from an inconsistent communicator to a ghoster. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's already seeing that you're not holding him to a standard that says he needs to show up in this process. So if I don't have to show up, then I can just go about this willy-nilly and do whatever I want. So you have to show that there's a standard here. There's a requirement that has to be met. And I think that when we establish that early in the dating process, we can eliminate ghosting, because if that person says, okay, well, I don't got time to be calling you like this, I don't got time to be giving you what you're looking for, then we can just agree from the jump not to deal with each other. So forget ghosting, we just break apart and go our separate ways. But when we're not clear about what we're requiring or what we need, we now allow a lackadaisical approach to enter into the situation. And again, if we're allowing people to be lackadaisical, we're allowing people to just do what they want, then it's very easy for someone to say, all right, well, I'll just disappear. Like, again, because it's easy. It's easier to disappear than to have conversations. And since we're not held to that standard, I'm not going to force myself to do that as an individual if I'm not serious about you also to begin with. All right. So keeping your standards, letting your requirements be known from the jump, and consider also, for those of you who may have experienced a lot of ghosting in your life, consider laying that out from the jump. Like, if you're a woman who can handle whatever the reason is that he may want to stop dating you, there's nothing wrong with saying in the beginning, hey, if this reaches a point where you decide you don't want to do this anymore, just let me know. Like, I don't like being ghosted. I don't like the confusion of it. Just let me know. Now, is that a guarantee that he will? No. Do I think it increases the chances of proper communication being had? Yes, I do believe it will increase the chances of it. So just be open and honest about that from the jump to help diminish the chances of it happening. All right, so now let's get to number 5. And number 5 is, he likes you, but he's too damaged. So I'm going to make this one quick because this basically ties into what I said earlier in the video about connection and getting scared and overwhelmed. All right, the reality is that there are going to be men sometimes that meet you and you may be more than they expected as far as how good you are, how much they like you, and they're not emotionally ready. They recognize that they cannot give you what you deserve, all right? And so believe it or not, I think a lot of women don't realize that a man who genuinely likes you and genuinely respects you may pull away because he feels like you deserve better. And it's not a cop-out. I'm not saying no man has ever used that as a cop-out, but there are men who are genuinely feeling that way. Like, you know what? You deserve a better me or a better person than me, and I'm not there yet. So I'm just going to walk away. And again, it's not right that they disappear, but the disappearing is because it's easier. Bottom line. But at the core of it is a man who is damaged, a man who does not see his own value, a man who needs to work through his own issues. And to be honest with you, he's doing you a favor. All right. And though I would want him to handle it better and being open and honest about that, all right, we have to realize that some people aren't going to find the strength to do it. So ultimately, it does happen. It can happen, but it's just one of those unfortunate situations. You know what I'm saying? So he can like you, but he's too damaged. And for that, he walks away from the situation and walks away from you. So now let's get to number 6. And again, quick reminder, join the membership program. You're going to love it. Click the link in the description or the comment section, or go to receivingmyblessings.com. So number 6, like I said, it's going to be, you notice I'm going back and forth between things about him and things about you. So this one's about you, and that is you did not reciprocate or show desire, all right, and interest. So essentially, what's happening to a lot of women is you're going on these dates, you're engaging with these men, and you're having this wait and see approach. So it's essentially, show me you're worthy. Show me that you're good enough. You're on these dates like, all right, what you got for me? Well, give it your best shot. And it's like, but wait a minute here. You're supposed to be giving your best shot too. You're supposed to be expressing interest and desire too. It isn't just on him. So what can happen is, if a man is now making his effort, he's showing interest, he's showing desire, but you're holding back. And again, to you, you may feel like, well, it's fair for me to hold back. I need to make sure he's for real. But you don't realize how you're sabotaging the situation. And so now as time goes on, he starts to question, is she serious about me? Does she really like me? Is she using me? You have to understand that men have been through things too. So if he's already willing to show the effort and desire, the least you can do is match it. I'm not saying you got to go above and beyond, but at least you want to match his energy and match his effort so that he understands you are as invested in this as he is. But so many situations, and some of y'all have experienced this, where you see a man going hard, maybe first month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months, all right, doing everything right. And then boom, gone. Either gone or he drops the good behavior, all right, and starts to not really be emotionally present anymore. And some of you may think, oh, well, he was just playing games. Listen, in most cases, he didn't go hard for 2-3 months just to play games. There's a very good chance he genuinely liked you, but he can't keep pouring into you if you're not pouring back. So you really want to ask yourself, was I also showing interest and desire? Was I matching his effort? Because again, if he starts to think you're not serious, then he ghosts you, not only because it's easy, but he thinks you don't care anyway. He doesn't think he's that relevant in your life that his disappearance will cause any problems. And I've seen situations where men really genuinely thought the woman was not interested and said, I'm just going to leave her alone. Left the woman alone, and then he hears maybe through the grapevine or whoever that she's upset because he left her hanging. And he's thinking, well, dang, she never showed me anything that said she actually liked me or that she was appreciating my effort. So I didn't know. I thought it wasn't a problem. I thought I'm doing her and me a favor by letting go. So be sure to be mindful of that. And again, stop holding back so much. You got to let those walls down. You got to let that love, that positive energy flow freely. And if you're having struggles with that, heal, and heal some more. And so now we get to number 7, and I want to make it clear, I have a bonus one. So I had mentioned in the beginning, I had a message to tell you. I got a bonus and a message, all right? So first, let me give you number 7. So number 7 is an event occurred that caused him to shut down, all right? So the unfortunate, ugly truth is that there are a lot of men who do not know how to function when they're going through things, all right? So I've seen a lot of situations where men, it could be a death in the family. It could be, I remember one situation where a man failed his bar exam. It could be various things that went wrong that were really hurtful to him, that he internalized or whatever. And rather than just talk to you, he went and hid in his corner and he shut down and he disappeared. All right. And again, it had nothing to do with you. It's just that this is a man who does not know how to, because this is a very vulnerable moment for him. He's hurt. He's dejected. He's damaged. He's destroyed. He's devastated. And he does not know how to present that to a woman, because some men have had experiences where they tried and that woman used it against them later. That woman threw it back in their face. So a lot of men are already hesitant due to previous bad experiences when it comes to opening up to women. Now, of course, I would want men to heal and get to a place where they can still be open and vulnerable and transparent. But I'm just explaining to you the reality of what happens. So some men go through these things and they fall off the face of this earth. And some of y'all have seen these situations where he falls off and then months later he pops back up. And again, sometimes you feel like, oh, it's him playing games. And I'm not saying there aren't men who aren't playing games out there. I'm just saying some of those situations, a lot more than you may think, are genuinely a matter of things happening. He did not know how to handle it and he mishandled things. And I would say this, if he does pop back up and you're going to consider giving him a chance, you need to make it clear at that point, all right, that, hey, if anything ever happens again that you're struggling with, you've got to be willing to talk. Because if you do this again, there will be no other chances. There will be no other opportunities. Some of you might say, well, hell no, he shouldn't even get a second chance. Listen, calm down, pray about it, talk to God. Some situations need to be reconciled, and some of them are just, thank God he left the first time. He didn't belong there anyway. But understand that if you do let him back in, for whatever the reason is, you make sure you establish that going forward, this is unacceptable behavior, and we have to talk to each other, all right? So now let me give you the bonus before I give you my special extra message, all right? And the bonus is you had sex with him too soon. So the reality is this, okay? Now, I know some of y'all are saying, well, we shouldn't be having sex anyway. You should wait till you're married. Listen, that is always the ideal, right? But I also understand that many people, aren't going to make it that far. And many people are engaging in sexual relations. So we got to talk about it. And so what's happening in a lot of situations is that, yeah, you had sex too soon. When I say you had sex too soon, I mean that in a couple ways. I mean, number one, too soon to evaluate what this man was really about. So you didn't give yourself time to discover that he was Mr. Not Really Serious. You didn't give yourself time to discover that he was Mr. Damaged. You know what I'm saying? You didn't give yourself time to realize he may not have wanted the same things that you wanted. And you jumped into intimacy or that level of intimacy too soon and too fast. And so now when he disappears, you don't understand why, but it's because those other things applied. He just was never trying to do anything more than have sex. And had you given yourself more time to at least understand what's really going on here, then you would have a better chance of avoiding that outcome. Here's another thing to consider. You had sex too soon, and therefore it wasn't good. And so he left. Now listen, I'm not trying to be hurtful. I love y'all. I really love y'all. But I'm going to be real with y'all. Every woman swears their sex is amazing, right? And it's not always the case. But here's an important thing to understand. I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm saying that to bring awareness to the fact that some of you are jumping into bed with men before you're truly comfortable, all right? And because you're not truly comfortable, you're not going to be your best in the bedroom. One of the keys to a woman having great sex is being comfortable, being free, not having to have the worries of, am I doing this too soon? Think about this, that, and the other. Because a lot of y'all are in your own heads, so you really can't even perform well or enjoy the experience, all right? So if you jump in too soon when you have not reached a level of comfortableness with doing this, again, and it's your decision as a grown adult when you want to do it. But if you haven't at least reached a place where you are truly comfortable with it, your performance is affected. And yes, he will judge you on that. Yes, he will lay with you and say, this wasn't that great. And why would I want to continue with this woman? Because people sex is important to a lot of men. Even if he's looking for marriage, he wants to know that he can have good sex with this woman. And so if you engage in that experience very soon, you're leaving it up for evaluation, essentially. All right. And so you want to make sure if you're going to step into that arena, you are truly at peace and comfortable with it. All right. And one thing I always tell women, regardless of what your beliefs are, whether it's wait till marriage or whatever, at the very least, do not have sex with him until you are okay with what's going to happen next. So what I mean by that is if you have sex with him and now he stops calling you or he disappears, and that's going to hurt you bad because deep inside you were having sex hoping that he would like you more. You were having sex hoping to have him hold on to you longer, all right? So you were having sex with very wrong intentions, so to speak, rather than just trying to enjoy the experience. And so now, when you don't get what you were hoping to get, you feel cheated, you feel used, you feel devalued, all right? That's a bad place to be. So I want you to, at the least, again, the ideal is waiting till marriage. Abstinent is a great thing to do. Seriously, it is. But if you're gonna engage, make sure you are comfortable. Make sure that you can bring your best self to the table. Make sure you are okay with whatever happens next. And you can be at peace. So that means you are doing it because you want to do it for the experience. All right? That should be the only reason if you're gonna do it sooner than marriage or whatever. Bottom line, because you don't want to be in that bad position. All right? But yes, having sex too soon can definitely lead to him disappearing. He got what he wanted and now he's out. So ultimately, again, the special measures, the main thing I need you to understand is at the end of the day, you're not always going to know. You're simply not always going to receive the closure of him verbally stating or writing you a letter or whatever, letting you know exactly what happened. And so it's important for you to rather focus on the possible reasons why he disappeared, because some of you who have had this happen, you're racking your brain, driving yourself crazy, trying to analyze what could it have been, what could it have been, what could it have been. Stop. We don't know. But what we can know is this. It's a blessing. Because whether it's he wasn't ready, he wasn't serious, he's damaged, he's shut down, whatever it is, there was no way you're going to have a healthy relationship with this man right now. And if it was issues stemming from things that you could do better, then that means you need more time to prepare anyway. All right. So you know what? Him stepping away can shed light on what can I improve upon myself to again, increase my chances of better results. But ultimately, do not internalize a man disappearing on you. But yes, so don't internalize it to now lower your value or question yourself. Why am I not good enough? None of that. We don't do that here. But we are always willing to say, you know what? I could have handled that better. Or I could do this better next time. Or, if it's a sex thing, you know what? Let me give myself more time next time so I know what I'm dealing with. That's always a good thing. But do not internalize it. Do not allow it to now bring you into a negative place. Do not dwell in it. Accept it for what it is. Focus on the positives. Move forward and walk into the blessings that are waiting for you. Break it down for you. And we're going to get right into it, starting with number one. When a man comes back to you, don't react emotionally. All right. So what I've seen happen to so many women is that, again, whether it's you left him, he left you, you guys mutually separated, whatever, he ghosted you, the man tries to pop back up, and initially there's just an emotional reaction. That emotion might take you towards letting him back in because maybe you're lonely, maybe it's just he got you at the right time and you're willing to entertain what he has to say. Or it may be in the opposite direction where your emotions take you to F him. How dare he try to come back? I'm not even going to entertain this guy for 1 second. Now listen, I'm not saying at the moment whether letting him in or keeping him out is correct or not. What I'm saying is your emotions should not dictate that, all right? When the man comes back, you need to take a step back in that moment, in that day, whatever you need to do to make sure you think it out clearly. Now, some of you may say, forget all that. It's not that serious. If he didn't appreciate me the first time around, he needs to stay out of my life. But the reason why I don't want you to go straight to that is because, again, I've seen situations where the emotion said one thing, but when the woman actually took time to process, she was able to see more deeply into the situation to understand what needed to happen. And I'm going to lay some out for you of what may need to happen. So do not react emotionally. Allow yourself to process. Now, if you watch my videos, you know I'm all about intuition, and I'm never going to tell you to ignore your intuition. I just want you to make sure that emotions don't guide you in that moment. So process and properly evaluate the situation. Now, the second thing you should do when a man comes back is make sure you've gotten everything off your chest. Now, again, remember I just said I do not want you reacting emotionally. Because in some situations, I would argue in most situations, there are things you were not able to let out or you have not let out in regards to this man or what happened, all right? Again, whether it's he hurt you, whether it's you were afraid, whatever the case may be. And if you react emotionally and you shut the door, all right, or even let him back in too fast without giving yourself a chance to get things off your chest, you're only going to make matters worse. So, and please consider that when I say get things off your chest, I don't mean about that argument that you guys had that one time. I don't mean the lashing out you did when you felt like he disrespected you. I mean an opportunity to really flush everything out. Because one of the struggles that people have, all right, when they detach from somebody is the fact that they're still holding on to emotions or thoughts or feelings that they need to let out. And not letting out those things creates an attachment to the situation, good or bad. And when I say good or bad, whether the situation was good for them or not, it creates an attachment there, which becomes unhealthy. It creates a greater struggle, and it makes it harder for you to see things clearly. Because again, when you have not let those things off your chest, that's what contributes to the emotional reaction. That's what contributes to blurring your vision of the situation and not understanding what needs to happen next. So this is a great opportunity to make sure, and we're not saying at the moment whether this will lead to you entertaining him and letting him back in or keeping the door shut ultimately. It's just that you need to see this as a chance to, okay, let me make sure I spoke my piece. Let me make sure I get everything out of my system and release all these things from my spirit. This will help you immensely in moving forward in whatever direction you need to go in. Now, the next thing to do, if he comes back to you, is ask yourself, is this fixable and is this worth it? So let's start with, is this worth it? Quick story. I know a woman and she was dealing with a guy. They were dating. And at that time, he was pursuing her hard. But she was resistant due to family and friends. And if I'm going to be completely honest, they felt like he was not at her level. They felt like he wasn't good enough, even though out of her own mouth, she felt there was a connection there. She was into the guy, but she was worried about his status and if this was really a right fit, so on and so forth. And so because of these hesitations and the family and friends pressuring her, she would not embrace this man fully. So eventually he gets to a point where he stops, all right? He's no longer pursuing her. I want to say maybe a year or so later. Now, she's hurt by this. Let me throw that out there. She's hurt by the fact that he now gives up the pursuit, even though, yes, she was not fully embracing him, which was wrong. I won't get all into that right now, but it was not fair for her to continuously reject him and then be mad at him that he finally gave up. He couldn't take it anymore. Because whether a man loves you or not, there's only so much he can take. I would argue when he does love you, he has less pain tolerance, so to speak. I think there's this misconception that, well, if he loves you or that person loves you, they're going to keep trying. No, a lot of times the person who doesn't love you, who just has an unhealthy attachment to you, they have the energy to keep trying no matter what, because your rejection does not hurt them to the core. They are not as affected by it in a way that deters them from keep trying. But imagine you as a woman, if you love the man and you're trying to be in his life and he keeps rejecting you, it will hurt you so much that you will get to a point where you can't keep putting yourself out there. Because it's just, again, it's more devastating than the person that you aren't really into like that. So anyways, getting back to the story, he finally gave up his pursuit. Years pass, he comes back into her life. So now here's the thing. Her emotional reaction leads her to rejecting him again. Because her emotion said, you hurt me when you left me the first time. Even though, again, it wasn't a fair situation. But this is how she processed it. And those emotions did not allow her to see the fact that, one, she didn't get everything off her chest, as we mentioned. Two, This was something that was worth pursuing. This was a situation where, yes, it would be worth it. And yes, it actually is fixable. All right. But again, emotions dictated her actions, and it went left again, and it didn't work out. So this is why it's so important for you to understand the need to take a step back, take a deep breath before you just react to things. But getting back to the point that I made on this one is, again, evaluate, is it worth it? And understand that if there was genuine love there, if this was a man that, okay, maybe there were mistakes made, maybe there was misunderstanding, maybe there was miscommunication, but those things are fixable. All right. Now, if it's not worth it, if it's a guy that you recognize, okay, no, there was no connection there, there was no real love there, it was unhealthy from the beginning, you always knew he was the wrong guy, so on and so forth, or he's coming back and he's not even coming back on some being serious, he's coming back still playing games, he's coming back not showing any growth, then of course that's something that we don't entertain. I would still want you to get things off your chest, but you don't need to push things any further. But now let's break this down a little bit more. So let's get back to, let's talk about the fact that you looked at the situation and you determined it is worth it and it is fixable. So there's some things I want you to consider now if that is what's being determined. So the first thing, if we've determined that this is worth it and fixable. And let me also say this, because I feel like I'm hearing some of y'all right now in my spirit. Just because it's scary doesn't mean it's not worth it. Just because it seems difficult doesn't mean it's not worth it. All right. When I say something is worth it, I mean that there's genuine love and connection there. I mean that this is a guy who is willing to put forth the correct effort. This is a man who, again, he may have made mistakes, but he is willing to address and correct them. This is what I mean by it is worth it. This is a love worth pursuing. All right. But I know that sometimes, because it can feel very scary, because it can seem very difficult, because of all the outside noise that has been added to the situation, that can cause you to view it as not worth it. Do not let that fool you and throw you off track. All right. So going back to, we've determined that this is worth it, this is fixable. So number one, be open-minded and discuss all your concerns. So again, there's nothing wrong with being scared. There's nothing wrong with you saying, well, how could I really be sure I'm making the right decision by determining this guy is worth it and we can actually move forward? That's fine. That's understandable. Discuss those things. You know, the thing that sabotages and destroys potential relationships, whether in these dynamics or just starting off fresh, is the confusion. The confusion that comes from a lack of communication and a lack of understanding how the other person is feeling. All right. And when we have that confusion creates chaos. And that chaos creates more fear, insecurity, and toxic energy that now throws everything off. So it's important that if we're attempting to move forward, reconcile, work things out, whatever, that we be honest and forthcoming about how we feel, what fears do we have, talk it out. Put it out there. What are the concerns? If the concern is, well, how can I know I can trust you again after you did such and such? Say that. Let's discuss that. Because again, if he is serious and he is a man that's worth it, he's going to be willing to have those discussions. Because I always say the man who loves you wants to bring you clarity and peace. The ones who don't will bring you confusion and chaos or stress. All right. So put everything out there, but be open-minded. Don't project negativity onto the situation. Don't do things like, well, he'll never go for this, or he'll never do this, or he'll never be okay with that. Don't do that. If that's the case, let him show that that's accurate. Let him show you if he's going to prove you right in those negative things or prove you wrong and do the right thing. But give him the opportunity by discussing it and putting it out there, because that's what's going to be needed if there's going to be a healthy step forward in making things work. The next thing to also, again, really focus in on, if you're determining that this is worth it, and I said it once, but I'll say it again, is there a real connection there? Listen, I don't I'm not going to sit here and push people to try to make things work with someone that they have no connection with, because to me, that's very pointless. But I will encourage and push people to do it when there is a connection. And now some of you may say, well, if there was a connection, how do we even end up in this situation where he has to come back? How do we even end up where we have to reconcile? Listen, I wish I could give y'all all the stories of people who had connection and ran from each other, or sabotage, or somehow, fear, hurt, whatever, lack of healing got in the way of two people who had a connection being together. And this is why I firmly believe in right person, wrong time. Because there are a lot of situations where you meet someone, and specifically here, you might meet a man, he is that guy. But unfortunately, you guys met at a time where you weren't truly emotionally ready to handle the level of vulnerability that connection requires, or to handle the level of maturity a successful relationship requires. And so now things go left, not because you guys aren't good for each other, aren't right for each other, but you guys it was the wrong time. And now, again, I always hear y'all in my spirit. Some of y'all always say, well, if it was the wrong time, how could he be right? Why would God even let this person come into my life? Listen. Just because someone came into your life doesn't mean you were supposed to move forward with them at that time. See, the reality is that we move forward into these relationships because of what we want to do. We don't allow ourselves to process the proper timing of things a lot of times, because we're caught up in our draw to this person, our love for them, our desire for them, our connection with them. That can blind us from taking a step back and say, okay, maybe we have this thing here, right? But it's not time for us to really move forward in a romantic relationship. So when you say, why would God bring this person into my life? I will say, but did God tell you to go be with them at that time? Did God tell you to get romantically involved at that time? If not, then we can't put that on God. All right. But regardless, it's just that things get thrown off. And it can happen. So going back to the point, connection is the key. I'm a firm believer in that. And that's why I'm not going to dismiss the possibility that sometimes the man who comes back is the man you have a real connection with, and is a man that you can have a great relationship with. Granted, many who will come back never belonged in your life and don't need to be entertained at all. And we'll go over some extra points in regards to that. But do not rule out the man who you have a real connection with. And then there's so much we can continue to talk about with this, but one more point I want to make in regards to you determining he's worth it and it's fixable is be willing to heal and don't be afraid to let him back in. And reality is that goes hand in hand. Like I said, these situations can be very scary. And many times we shut people out, not because there wasn't a connection, not because they're not right for us, but because we're too scared to deal with the possibilities of being hurt again, moving forward, being disappointed, so on and so forth. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, timing is important. And just because someone came back right now still doesn't mean it's the right time right now. You could require more time. And that's why it's so important to make the time to heal. Now, I would love for you to have already healed by the time this person, if he is right for you, comes back into your life. But if you haven't, and now the opportunity presents itself, don't think you can skip that step and make it work with this man. Don't think, okay, well, here's a second chance. I do love him. There is a connection. Let's just move forward. No, because if you don't heal, then you're going to find yourself back at square one. You're going to struggle in making this work. Connection cannot be destroyed, but a lot of trash can be thrown on top of it. All right. You can muddy the waters, so to speak, and make it difficult to maintain and sustain that relationship successfully. So you've got to be careful and make sure you do your part, not just for the sake of the potential relationship, but for you and your overall quality of life, and heal. And then with that healing, not be afraid to let him back in. And this is where, again, you got to trust that intuition. You got to trust your spirit. You got to talk to God. You got to be vocal and honest about your fears so you guys can walk through the fears together. You got to put it all out on the table, because that's the only way to make it work. I know this sounds like a lot and this is heavy, for those of you who may be facing this or who have faced this. But listen, I have to give you what's real, and this is what needs to happen. And again, I don't want to see people who belong together not being able to successfully make it happen because of all the lack of healing, fears, and other issues that throw things off track. But now let's pivot, because I said, I had to give you the possibility of him being the right guy. But let's just say he's the wrong guy. He's always been the wrong guy, all right? And so now we understand this is not a fixable situation, and this damn sure ain't worth it, all right? So here are some things you need to remember if that has been determined. First thing is, don't let loneliness get the best of you. Hell, don't let loneliness or boredom, okay, get the best of you. Because a lot of times we may entertain people when we shouldn't because we got nothing better going on at the moment. We're a little bored. We want some companionship. Again, lonely, whatever. Maybe even you're feeling a little horny. Let's keep it real, all right? You may have some needs that you want met and this opportunity presents itself, but please do not allow those things to cause you to run back into the arms of someone who's only going to make you miserable, all right? Who's only going to make situation worse, who's going to now create a deeper, unhealthy attachment with this person because they don't belong. So once you understand, and this is why, again, you've got to take that step back. In step one, we said don't react emotionally because you got to give yourself a chance to process. Is this worth it? Is this not? What do I need to do here? Why is this current? What's the opportunity that this is presenting to me? All right. And once we understand he ain't for you, do not let that loneliness, boredom, or horniness get you caught up and in the wrong situation. The next thing to consider, or the next thing to do in this regard, is release and release. Now, what do I mean by release and release? This is kind of just reiterating what I said earlier. You still want to get things off your chest. Again, I think one of the big mistakes people make is that because you determine this person is not worth your time, you think there's no point in saying or expressing yourself fully. And the problem is that if you're truly at peace and however you've accomplished this, cool, right? But if you know that there's toxic energy that lingers in you, hurt, disappointment, betrayal, resentment, animosity, any of those things, all right? If you know there was things you wish you would have said, let it all out. Because again, to not release those things will cause you to become attached to the situation. And by becoming attached to the situation, you become attached to the person. And this can wreak a lot of havoc. So you've got to still be willing to make sure you have fully released even when he's the wrong guy. But as I said earlier, release and release. So release your feelings and your words and all that you need to express, and then release his ass. Okay? That's it. Like, you gotta let him go. And in letting him go, which brings me to the next point, for this, is let him go and shut all the doors, all right? I see a lot of women say, well, I let him go, but he won't let me go. He keeps coming back. Because you're allowing him to walk through the door. Yes, he may be coming to the door, knocking the hell out of it, screaming out loud, trying to get through, and you get worn down, beat down emotionally to where you finally let that door crack open, and he pushes his way all the way through. You can't even let him have a dim, what's the word? You can't let him have any opening whatsoever, all right? You've got to erase the numbers, block the phone if you got to, eliminate all the social media. You got to remove anything that allows this man an opportunity to come back into your life and cause problems. You got to remove anything that's going to cause you to stumble and make the wrong decision. Listen, now, if you're at a place where you can release and you can still be on social media and it doesn't faze you, okay, cool. It's all about recognizing what are your weaknesses or what are the problematic areas for you that don't allow you to stay on course and do what's truly best. Eliminate those things, shut those doors. Like I said, release him, release your feelings, release him, and then shut all those doors so you don't get caught back up in that situation. Now let's get back to kind of the main overarching points. All right. So I gave you some earlier, but I got a few more I want to mention. When this man comes back, do not let friends and family dictate your decisions. So we talked about your emotions, and that includes your fears and all these different things. But I've seen so many people determine whether they're going to entertain someone or not based off of family and friends' unhealthy influence. Though their input may have been well-intentioned, it can create more problems. And I've seen it happen both ways. I've seen some situations where the guy should not have been let back in. But, maybe your family member really liked him. Like, oh, just give him another chance. Oh, maybe it'll be better this time. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like they try to find some way to convince you or guilt you into giving this man another opportunity he should not get. On the flip side, I've seen situations where you should be entertaining this man, but forget him. They're still holding on to maybe something. What's coming to me right now is like a lot of times as a human being or as a woman, we tell friends and family a lot of negative situations, but we don't give them the full picture of the positive ones. So when that person re-enters into your life, or even while they're in your life, the outside members, the family and friends, may have a more skewed negative perception than positive one because we don't always share the highlights. But we'll share a lot of when we're pissed off and we're feeling some kind of way, we might express those. And you got to be mindful of that. If you know you gave them way more ammunition of negative than positive, how can we expect them to give you a fair and balanced opinion? How can we expect them to give you insight and guidance without bias in that situation? And there naturally may already be bias because they're family members, they love you. And again, they may have good intentions, not to mention that their bias can also come from their own personal experiences. Many people project themselves into the situation, and basically because, I wouldn't deal with this, they're going to tell you not to, but they're not you. And it's not the same thing. So all in all, just be careful because I've seen family and friends sway people in the wrong direction. You got to make sure you got to figure this out in a better way. All right. And I'm going to give you some things to consider when trying to figure it out without using friends and family. If you want to go to a professional, that's cool because at least with a professional, there's an unbiased opinion. They're able to now get a more full picture of the relationship and the situation rather than just going off of the bad stuff that they heard throughout the times. All right. I think you'll have a better chance of getting more accurate, healthy guidance by going to a counselor or a coach. And it's not that friends and family are incapable of giving good advice. It's just you have to be careful with that. All right. So be careful letting them dictate your decisions. The other thing to do when he comes back, and I mentioned this earlier, so this is going to be a quick point. Do not let fear guide you. Again, even if this person is not for you and the door needs to be shut, that decision needs to be made through an understanding and a peace with the situation rather than a fear of the situation. All right. We can come to the same conclusion by processing things properly, by, again, getting things off our chest, by healing that. And to me, that's the healthier way to go about it, because if you allow fear to dictate, fear is something that can sway you in a lot of different directions, can blind you and cause you not to see things properly, can also cause you to miss maybe the deeper purpose of this situation right now. Again, sometimes these things happen because there's a greater purpose we don't understand at the moment, all right? And if we don't allow ourselves to fully go deeper within ourselves and in our spirit to gain guidance, we may miss the mark. And we may find ourselves continuing in a negative cycle because we're not learning the lesson we need to learn. So be careful to allow fear to overcome you. Find peace, find guidance through your spirit, through God, in order to make the right decisions. The next thing I'll mention, and we got one more after this, but the next thing is don't make the same mistake twice. All right. What I mean by that, I don't mean you got with him the first time, don't get with him again. Because again, we have to consider all the possible things that I laid out for you. When I say don't make the same mistake twice, I mean whatever led to there being an issue the first time around. Whether the issue was letting him in to begin with, or the issue was you guys falling apart due to misunderstandings and miscommunication, let's learn from that. So basically, if you know you only entertained this man because you were lonely, don't do it again. Remind yourself that was the only reason why it happened the first time. Let me make sure I guard myself against that issue. If we know that miscommunication led to the breakup, all right, well, let's make sure we don't miscommunicate again. Let's make sure we do a better job. Let's learn from the first go round. Again, the lessons may be to strengthen your position in shutting him out completely and not letting him back in, or the lessons may be to allow you to grow closer and stronger with him, or the lessons may be what you need so that you can have a better relationship with somebody else. All right, but be open to the lessons and ensure that you don't make the same mistake again. All right, and so now we got the last point I got to give you. But before I give it to you, I meant to mention this earlier. Get your copy of the book, He's Lying, Sis. Now, me promoting this right now doesn't mean that the man who comes back is always lying, okay? I'm just mentioning it because he might be lying. He might be full of crap. And so this is going to help you and guide you through a lot of situations where lies are being told and how to properly handle it. Best-selling book. Click the link in the description or in the comment section below. But the last point for me to make, and in my personal opinion and in my with my value system and my beliefs, this is the most important thing, is pray and talk to God. Now, again, I pretty much mentioned it throughout this video, but I got to drive the point home one more time. You got to make sure that, again, if you're a believer, because if you're not a believer, of course, this doesn't apply. And I understand, I'm not forcing this on you. You take the meat, and is that how you say it? Take the meat, spit out the bones, whatever, all right? Just take what works for you and leave the rest. But for those of you who are believers, then it is important, it's extremely important that you talk to God, that you pray, that you don't make these decisions on your own as far as what to do, or you don't let your friends and family, or you don't let your pastor, or whoever, all right? They are not God. Let God guide you in this situation. So you've heard me say it before, not just pray, but if you're not getting an answer clearly, go on a fast. Fasting will help you draw closer to your spirit, draw closer to God. It will allow you to gain clarity, to make sure that you navigate the situation the best way possible. Because again, as I mentioned from the beginning, I think there is this unhealthy perspective that once an X, always an X. And that simply isn't always true. Yes, in most cases is it true? Absolutely, but not always. And I felt like I had to lay this out because I don't want to see the right people missing the opportunity to be together. I don't want to see the right people letting fear and outside influences who don't understand the situation properly to pull them apart and get in the way of real love. There are people who it failed the first time. They fell apart for a few years or however many years. They've come back and now they're having the most amazing relationship. 10 years strong, 20 years strong. I mean, I got stories for days, and one day I hope I can start interviewing some of these people so that you guys understand that yes, it can happen, but you got to make sure you take the right approach, and you got to make sure that you heal so that you will be ready for real love when it comes your way. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Listen, breakups can be hard. The sudden loss of someone you've given so much to, that you've poured into, that you've possibly loved, to now have them leave, to see that relationship end, can be a tough pill to swallow.